What's up, everybody? Welcome back to One More Guitar. Today I'm going to check out the new Spark amp by Positive Grid. Been seeing a lot of hubbub about this amp, and I really needed a new practice amp, so I figured why not? It's got a lot of good reviews, and I heard they had some issues with shipping, but I ordered mine just a couple of weeks ago, and it's here now, so I didn't have any problems. So I'm just going to get right to it and start opening this box. Oh, it's heavier than I thought it would be, for sure. So sweet. That's the box. Let's see what we got in here. Okay. Alright, I'm guessing this is cables. Yep. You can see in here. Okay, so we've got a power cable. Quick start guide. USB cable. And card for Positive Grid. And one heck of a funky smell. I'm not sure what that smell is. Ugh. And what I dropped was the power brick. So there's that. Alright, now to the meat and potatoes. Ah, it's got a handle. Excellent. I didn't even know that. I wonder if that's the smell. It's a weird smell. Okay. Let's see if we can get a look at it in the camera here. Try to back off a little bit. I know my shots are blurry sometimes. I swear in the viewfinder it does not look blurry. Okay. See the top of the amp here? Maybe help if I turn it right side up. Okay, so what I want to do today is I just want to play this thing out of the box, play with some of the default sounds, see what it sounds like. I'll do a more in-depth review later where I actually go through some of the features of this thing, and you know, after I spend some time with it and figure out how to use the thing, I'll share that with you and maybe show you some stuff that I figure out about it. But for now, I just want to plug it in and get a sense of what it sounds like in the room. I'll put a mic up to it. I'm not going to mess with the USB stuff right now, but again, I'll do that in a later video. So, my first impressions on out of the box, I think it looks great. Like I said, it's got a lot more weight to it than I thought it would, so weight is the sign of reliability. That's what I've heard anyway. All right. Anyway, got a tiny little power switch and volume knob here. That's crazy. But everything else looks pretty good. Looks like we've got acoustic, bass, clean, glassy, and crunch, high gain, and metal for some of the default sounds here. So let me get a guitar and let's check this thing out. Okay. I usually cheat a little bit and, you know, give the gear a once over before I shoot the video because, you know, I don't want to show something incorrectly. But this time, I think I'm just going to turn the thing on with the camera on and we'll see what happens. So I've never turned it on before. Here we go. Light comes on. That's a good sign. Okay. So first thing I want to do is give myself some volume. Okay. What's the beef here? Alright, so why am I not getting any sound out of this bad boy? Hey, look at that. Alright, so I'm going to turn, don't worry about delay and mod, I'm going to give myself the EQ I'm going to set at noon, or 6 o'clock my time. Hey, I think that sounds pretty good. Let's give it some more volume. Seem to have a lot of reverb on there. Everything looks like it's turned off. See what happens if I turn the reverb all the way the other way. A little more reverby. Okay, knock that reverb down. Okay, so the knob was all the way down, but obviously in the setting, the reverb was up a good bit, because when I turned it down, the reverb was gone. So it's about halfway. I don't know how it's going to come across in the microphone, but in the room it sounds really good, and I'm sitting behind it too, and I think it sounds good for a practice amp for sure. And I'm just on the acoustic setting, so let's start on the other side. I'm going to go all the way to metal, and then we'll roll back around, and I'll try it with a bass and an acoustic guitar. So unfortunately, every single sound sample I did, which is every setting, or every amp setting that comes on this thing, was no good, because the volume was peaking on all of the demos. So we're going to start over. So we're going to start from scratch, turn it on. Let's go through every bit of this thing again. I want to make sure that the quality of this is good, so you get a good idea of what the amp's like. So the first thing I want to talk about is that it comes with a tuner on top. I've messed with the tuner a couple of times now. It's okay. It's not great, but it'll work if you need something, you know, in a pinch. So go ahead and turn it on. Okay. It works better if you only pluck one time. I'm a multi-plucker. Okay, so should be in tune now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the metal. Make sure I'm not peaking. I am peaking. So let's bring the output down. Okay, so some of you may know I'm not a metal player, so I'll just kind of play through some stuff and see if you can get an idea of how it sounds. Okay, whatever. I wonder if it kept my settings, because when I started this last time, all of these settings had a lot of reverb on it, and not really sure what happened there. So some of them had a lot of delay too. Maybe it saved the fact that I turned it off. So I just want to tell you one thing, that a lot of these sounds out of the gate for me had a lot of delay and reverb on them, or a lot of bass. I had to mess with the EQ a pretty good bit. So again, I'm not sure if it kept my settings for all of that. Either way, I found my first time through this, there was a lot of reverb and delay and bass in the sounds. Okay, so now we've got high gain. See what this sounds like. Hey, that sounds pretty good. Again, it could be because I tweaked it a little bit. So that's one thing I want to say. Maybe the sounds don't come out of the box the way you want them, but it's pretty easy to tweak it just from here. So I still haven't tried the app, so there's probably a lot more you can even do with that. So anyway, let's move on to crunch. It's not too bad. Let's see what we got on the other end of the guitar here. Crunch sounds pretty good. I like that. Okay, so I definitely think it saved some of my settings, but or at least my EQ, and turning off the delay and reverb and stuff. Okay, so let's move on to Glassy. If I remember last time, this one didn't sound as I expected. You know what this sounds like to me? Whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, that's enough of that. I can see some uses for this, but it's not quite as useful as the other ones to me. You know what? Let's play around with some effects. Let's put some mod on this. Alright, so I'll go through the other sounds and then I'll come back and play with the effects a little bit on each of these. Alright, so let's go to clean. Okay, I really like the clean sound. I think that's good. Alright, so what have we got next? Next we've got a bass. Okay, so give me a second to swap out for a bass, and we'll give this a try. Make sure I'm not peaking. Hey, that sounds pretty good. Well, while we're here on the bass, let's go ahead and try some effects. Alright, well, let's see what happens if we put a bunch of reverb on there. Cool, cool, cool. Alright, let's take it on back down. Alright, so the last amp setting we have is an acoustic, so I'll go grab an acoustic and we'll check that out. Okay, I think we're in tune. Let's see what it sounds like through this. I think that would work. I want to mention too, and you can see it in this camera here, that I've got the output very low. It's at, I'd say, 9 o'clock from the other side. So this thing can go a lot more, but like I said, it's a peak in my stuff, so I'm not going to crank it any more than that, but you can hear just from here, hopefully, that alone would be good enough to play if you were playing by yourself at a bar or something like that. I mean, that would do. And it'll go a lot louder, so it's a good little amp. I'm really happy with the way it sounds. It sounds great. I think these amps sound really good. You may have to tweak the settings a little bit, but this amp sounds great. Alright, as promised, I'm going to go back through and go through some of the effects on some of the different amp settings. First, let's check out what an electric guitar sounds like through the acoustic. It's not bad. It's kind of a dry, clean sound if you want that. Alright, so I'm going to go back to the metal sound. Let's see what happens. I'm just going to mess around with mod, delay, and reverb. So we'll give it some reverb. See, okay, so the reverb gets kind of heavy. A little bit goes a long way for sure. Okay. Alright, I'm going to turn that off. Let's mess around with some delay on this. I think the delay is pretty good. There's a tap button here. Let's see. I don't know if it's a 2-tap, 4. Okay, cool. So there's a tap right there. I'm sure you can tweak other parameters in the app. So again, we'll check that out next time. All right, and let's put the mod up. Alright, so I'm going to switch over to the high gain. See if it makes any difference here. I wonder if it kept my tap. It did. Yep. Okay, so it keeps your tap across all of the different settings you pick. Alright, so I'm going to do one more. I'm going to go to crunchy and I'm going to turn everything all the way up. And let's just see what happens. Listen to that. overall, I like it. I'm going to go through my list of cons first, and then we'll check out the pros. The first thing out of the gate is there's no manual with this thing. You know, maybe it'll be really easy once I get into the app. I've intentionally made this video without loading the app at all. I just wanted to know what it's like out of the box. So maybe the app is very intuitive and there's no need for a manual. But, you know, I've heard all of these great features that this amp has, and I've got nothing to tell me how to access them. So, you know, that's a little annoying. Another thing that I found confusing, which may have helped if I had a manual, is that I turn the amp off and I turn the amp back on, and all of the defaults are back to where they were with all of that reverb and that delay turned on. Okay, so I turn the knobs, you know, change the delay and reverb, and then I change the amp that I'm on, and those settings are still there. And I would think that the amp itself would have its own default settings, so when you would change the amp, you know, the settings for that amp would load. But it seems that once you have the amp on and you start turning the knobs, that those settings carry along. I'm not really sure about that, but that's what seems to be happening. So in my next video about this amp, I'll dig into that a little more. But for right now, I'm a little confused about that. Another little thing that's not really a big deal, but all of the default sounds come with something out of whack to me. Either it's got way too much reverb, or some delay that's just too much, or the EQ's out of balance. None of the defaults really sounded that great to me out of the box. I had to turn knobs on every one of them to get it to sound right. And then the last thing, and this is just a little nitpicky thing, but there's no way to change which effects you're using. Again, I'm sure that's going to be very easy inside of the app, but it would have been nice to have some kind of knob, I think. It's not a big deal not to have it to me. It just would have been a little nice. But I know they expect you to use the phone. So, okay, now that I've said the cons, let me go with the pros of this thing. The sound is great. It sounds fantastic. I don't know if it picked up on the mic. We'll see when I go do the audio, but in the room, it sounds great. It feels really good. It's got a nice weight to it. The knobs are really good. The switch is tiny, but I think it's fine. You know, it's a small footprint. It's a sleek design. It's nice aesthetically. So I think overall, the amp is a good quality amp. So now to argue against some of my cons. One of the things that I've just mentioned was that all of the tones were not very good right out of the box. But the pro here is that it's very easy to fix it. It didn't take me but a second turning a couple of knobs to get really good sounds out of this amp. I think what they were doing is they were trying to show off all of the effects, so when you plug it in, you've got all this stuff turned on, and maybe they were doing that for demo purposes, I'm not sure, but it's really easy to clean up the sounds to get them into a good state. Another thing I really like about this amp is that the acoustic and the bass amp settings on here are really good. I thought that bass sounded great coming through there. Can't complain about that at all. And the acoustic was pretty good. The acoustic that I used, the electronics in it aren't great. So I think, you know, it did what I expected to do. It sounded clean. You know, I didn't get any feedback or anything like that. So I thought that was good. Okay. Another thing I really like about this amp is that it comes with a headphone jack. And it's an 1/8" jack, but that's going to be very useful for practice. I think for a practice amp, this thing is top notch, and that's what it's trying to do. So I think it's a really good product, and I do look forward to checking out some of the extra features that come with it. The whole thing about being able to pick a YouTube video and find chords, or to be able to jam along with it and it builds a track behind you. And I think it's got some built-in jam tracks too. All that stuff I'm really looking forward to checking out, and we'll definitely check it out in the next video. And when I post that video, I'll put a link in this one too. So if it's already out, there should be a link popping up right about now. Alright, so that's pretty much it for now. I'm going to take some time, learn how to use the features on this amp, and then I'll come back with another video with a more thorough deep dive of what you can do with this amp using the app and all of the other features that are involved with it. So I appreciate you watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for checking out the channel. Please remember to like and subscribe before you leave. Until next time, take it easy and keep playing. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to One More Guitar. Damn, am I peeking?